In this video, we'll dive deep into the hidden land of your intuition and decode the meaning behind the subtle notions that your body picks up from your biofield. Together, we're going to explore the 6 senses, their subtle extensions, and the little-known brain function that steers their operation. All of this will equip you with the knowledge necessary to trust your inner voice that will lead you to your next breakthrough. Hi, my name is Oscar and I help people raise their vibration and share their gift with the world. And in this video, we're going to look at how trusting your inner voice will lead you to your next breakthrough. So, intuition has played an almost pivotal role in my life and how I have been moved to different things throughout my life. And I particularly know when my call to adventure came. If you've ever been familiar with the story of the hero's journey, I've had multiple of those journeys in my life. But the one in particular that I'm thinking about is the one that led me to my first, I would say, spiritual awakening. So I've had multiple jobs in my life, and I've never really felt or known where I was going. I am an engineer, but I've never really had an engineering job. And because I was really afraid of talking to people and expressing myself, because I were very introverted as a young guy, I decided to have a job in sales. And I actually made quite a good killing at that sales job. But certain things transpired, among them that I invested in a program that turned out to skim me of a lot of that money that I invested. And that made me become very down, and my sales were dropping, very much dropping. And I started to feel like I didn't muster going into my job, because, in sales, you really need to be 100% alert all the time, especially when I was talking on the phone with lawyers and, people who were hiring other people. So you had to be really skillful doing that. So anyway, one day in November, I felt like, you know what? I cannot handle this anymore. So I took an early leave from this job, which means I didn't quit it directly, but I just needed to go away that evening. I called in sick, And prior to this, I had just started to become very interested in Freemasonry, or not interested in the senses like I want to be a Freemason, but I was very interested in how come a lot of the Swedish high people are in this brotherhood called Freemasonry. And I had researched it and started to, tap into this field that many people will call conspiracy theories, right? And anyway, so when I was walking away from this job, or took this early leave this afternoon, I felt that I was completely drained. I needed something new, and there was something inside of me that felt like I need something. I didn't really know what that was. And just a couple of days earlier, I had seen this store. It just had popped into my in my mind, and the store's name was called The Source of Harmony. and I really needed harmony in my life. So during that time when I took a leave from my job, I went into that store. And as I was there, I met an older lady that gave me two books. One book was A New World by Eckhart Tolle, and the other book was by David Icke, I think, called like Unconditional Love is the Only True Power in the Universe, or similar to that. Anyway, those two books opened my mind. And what I was to say here is that I just felt a calling. I felt a drawn to this. And this woman also, for the first time, we started talking, and she took me to my first meditation. And then 3 days later, I went into my job and I quit. Without having any other job. But I called this woman up after I had quit my job, because my parents were quite angry at me. And I asked her, do you know anyone that needs someone to work for them, that are into these spiritual things that apparently I'm very interested in? And then he told me, well, you know what? My daughter is actually at a health food store, and right now they're hiring. So I went there, and then when I talked to the owner had talked to a medium. This was my crash course basically into the whole world of this secret world, that goes behind that everyone now looks at very common. But before then, or like back then, which was like 2010 or 9, it was a little bit like weird, right? But now everybody does yoga, everybody talks about health food, veganism is so fine, and all of that. Anyway, so I was at this job, and the owner told me that they had spoken to a medium, and the medium had said, there's a guy that is gonna come and you will hire him. And apparently that was me. So the reason why I'm telling this story is because I'm sure there's in your life, there has been a call to adventure, what they call in the hero's journey, right? This notion, this secret notion of you seeing that either something is not working, or you're just like being pulled in a direction. And I've had multiple of those pulls. And in fact, when I think about it, that is what has brought me on this path. The YouTube course that I'm going, I found that guy by just following my intuition, following a notion of what I was looking for. And that's the first thing that I want to come into about intuition. That intuition is this subtle sense, not a thinking per se. It's just a sense of you're pulled in a direction and you have a notion of something. And trusting that notion. And in the beginning for me, because I had so much thoughts and everything, that needed to be taken away first. And then it started to become more and more clear inside of me. And, when you're going into intuition, or when you're looking into intuition, there's a variances of that. And what intuition essentially is, it's an extension of your 6 senses, right? Not 5 senses, but 6. So what are the 6 senses? Well, you have seeing, tasting, touching, hearing. What is it more? Smelling, right? That's 5. You know what the 6 is? thinking. Yeah, thinking is a sense. But most of us have started equalizing thinking with that's who we are. And that's where chaos comes in. So a lot of our intuition or our sixth sense has hypnotized us into thinking that those thoughts are who we are, which it's not. Anyway, so that's the six senses. Now, what intuition actually is an extension of all these senses. So when you're talking about seeing, then obviously you have clairvoyance, which is the most known of the intuitions, which essentially is when people can see auras, or they can see ahead of the future, or they can just pick up things, or they can speak to angels or similar. And then you have clairaudience, which means that some people hear, some people talk of the voice of God or similar to that. And then you have clairolfactory, that you're essentially smelling, that you can sense smells from a whole other way, right? You can smell a color. So you have the mixing of senses. Then you have clairgustance, which is that you can taste color, or you can taste a touch. So it's these mixing of senses, and what it essentially is that we're picking up the subtle extension of our biofield. And the more in tune you are, the easier it is to pick up. So you have clairgustance, and then you have clairsentience, which is the extension of touch, right? You can feel into things. And then you have claircognizance, which means that you can know something before it even happens. You just can perceive it. You know, you can sense the whole picture. It's like this puzzle piece, and you know it when you see it. Clairsentience and claircognizance are the most prominent ones that I've worked with, and what I use almost daily. Whenever I talk to a client, my claircognizance just makes me instantly sense and know where they are. I can just feel, it's like, oh, that part there, that part is there, that part is there. And it's a sensing of whom they are. And I can't really pinpoint it until we're just sitting in a session and we're talking together, and I can sense what someone needs. And the other one is clairsentience. And I've sensed, and clairsentience has become more and more refined as more and more emotions are let go inside of me. So the more you let go of fears, of sadness, of grief, of shame, of all of these thoughts, right? That the sixth sense has duped you into believing, the easier it is for your intuition to come around. Because your intuition exists in the pause, right? It exists in the silence of it all, where you're perceiving. Because the enemy of perception, you know what that is? It's assumption. The moment you're assuming something, you're going into thought. And if you know anything about quantum physics, that's the same as you're collapsing the wave function into a particle, right? All this vast potential by assuming you are instantly making it so, right? So you're taking away the whole thing. So perception or intuition is really just widening up, taking it in more without jumping to conclusions or assumptions. So in your life, think about what are the calls to adventure that you moved into and that has shown you your next breakthroughs by you trusting what was coming, right? Because intuition is almost always the first notion. It's never when you start listening to the sixth sense of thought. No, it is the before that thought. It's the combination of all these senses together, or this subtle extension of the senses. And you really only need to still yourself. Many times when I've been looking for information, I'm just sensing that this is what I have to go for. I can just write something on Google because I get the sense it's like, oh, this I'm going to write. And then I move through and then I sense it's like, it's just a notion of that will lead to that and that. And then I just jump around. The moment as I read it and I feel that there's a force there, right? And then I move into it, and all of my information, basically, I found that way. Some things I paid for, but many times my intuition has led me to information that just is out there by me literally trusting what I feel. A lot of times also when it comes to doing my inner work, has my intuition been there and guiding me, because I put my clairsentience of what I'm sensing inside of me or outside of me in my biofield, and I hold my attention there. And then it will start move and transform and move me to other places. So intuition is perception of your subtle senses. And the moment when you take a step back and understand that your thought is your sixth sense, that's when you also can understand that you're just sensing life. It has nothing to do with who you are. You're just perceiving thought forms around you. Because as I spoke about in another video, it's like 90% of the thoughts are not yours. It's someone else's. Yeah. And the last part. So you have intuition, but what do you think activates your intuition, right? What is it that moves you to this call to adventure? Well, it is a little hidden or a little known brain function that's called the RAS, or the reticular activating system. And the reticular activating system is a function that by your intention and of your perception of what you clearly want to go for, right? The more clear you are about a picture, the more this system starts to look for these things in your environment. And you do it by intention. By intention and being really clear on what it is that you want, then your intuition will start moving you into that field of what it is that you need to be experienced. Because the thing is this, that everything exists here and now. There's no past and there's no future. And that means that everything exists here and now. But in order for you to perceive it, you first of all need to conceive it, right? Your brain or your mind needs to have a picture or at least an intuition or an intention of what it is that you want to perceive. And then your senses, your subtle senses first, will start bringing it to you by your trusting that inner voice of yours. Because that is what will lead you to your next breakthrough. All right, guys, that's it for today. I hope you got a lot out of this video. Please comment below about what are your own understanding and around intuition, and maybe you have some tips or maybe you have a question around it. I'd love to answer it, so comment below and do that. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell. Yeah, that's it. Peace, love, and joy to all of you. Bye for now.